Hello again. Welcome to my second video on creative writing. Remember last time I spoke about using show don't tell and try and start right in the action. As a reminder, here's another example of how using show don't tell and starting right in the action can improve your stories. Firstly, how not to write it. Dan was selling his house to move into somewhere smaller. His sons, Jason and Matt, were helping him clear out the attic when they found... Yeah, that's not very interesting. A better way to start the story would be, "Dad, I think we found a bomb." Jason's voice came down from the attic with a mixture of alarm and query in his voice. Here's another example. Suppose you want to write a story about how Jessica learned to like Brussels sprouts when her granny cooked them with bacon. You could begin the story with, "Jessica didn't like Brussels sprouts, she only liked peas." That's a bit of a boring beginning. Suppose instead you wrote, "Jessica looked into her mum's bag of shopping. Oh no, Brussels sprouts." "It's all right, I've got peas for you," her mum replied. Now that's much more interesting, and you've shown that she doesn't like Brussels sprouts without telling us. Today, I would like you to think about who your reader is, whether it's an adult, somebody the same age as you, a younger child, or perhaps it's someone who speaks little English. Try and keep that person in your head when you're writing. Try writing in the present tense, so things are happening now. It's usually much more interesting or exciting than writing in the past tense. We'll illustrate that by taking the story of Jack and Jill. I'm sure you know the story, but just as a reminder, Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water. Jack fell down and broke his crown, and Jill came tumbling after. Up Jack got, and home did trot as fast as he could caper, and went to bed to mend his head with vinegar and brown paper. Now that's all written in the past tense, but if we change it to the present tense and we choose a protagonist, that's the person whose story it is, then we can make it much more interesting. First, well, let's have a look at it from Jack's point of view. Jack looked at his sister. "Come on, Jill. I've got to get more water, and Mum says you've to come with me. You can carry the empty bucket." Or, if Jill is the protagonist, we could begin, "Jill didn't know why she needed to go with Jack every time he went to get water. He was big enough and strong enough to do it on his own. It's just in case he has an accident," said their mum. "You know how clumsy he is." Now that beginning also introduces an element of tension. Will he have an accident? When the person speaking changes in your story, you need to start a new paragraph. For example, if we take two people, Jake and his Uncle Tom. "Does chocolate grow on trees?" asked Jake. Now we need a new paragraph because Uncle Tom's going to speak. "Well, chocolate beans grow on trees, but they're too bitter, so you have to make bars of chocolate in a factory," said Uncle Tom. So although they're only short sentences, each one needs its own paragraph. You need to choose language appropriate to your character. You've got characters in a story, and if they're speaking, use different voices for different people. Have the idea of the person in your head when you're writing what they say. For example, I might say, "Phone me later" to somebody, but my granddaughter would say, "Call me later." In reported speech, usually we finish sentences when we speak, but sometimes... You see what I did there? That's how people actually speak. I didn't finish the sentence, I didn't need to, but that's how you should write it to make your reported speech seem more interesting. Well, that's all for now. Try and use some of these guidelines in your writing.